Third audio test for the meeting stream. The members will be added as panelists shortly. Chair, Mr. Plotkin will need to accept the prompt to be promoted to panelist.
We will send him an email if that's, oh, I think he's got it now.
Yes, thank
All
you.
right. Are we all present and accounted for again, I think? Looks like everybody's here. Okay, then the committee will now reconvene. Member McGoldrick, could you please move the decision motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone.
So be it resolved that the committee has issues the following decision and reasons in relation to the Clark matter. Upon receiving the report titled the City Clerk's Report with respect to an apparent contravention of contribution limits under the Municipal Elections Act, 1996 for the 2022 municipal elections, Janet Foley, and upon hearing the representations and or reading the written submissions and documents submitted by the auditor and the candidate, this committee hereby decides not to commence legal proceedings against contributor Janet Foley for apparent contravention of the contribution limits under the Municipal Elections Act 1996. The committee heard evidence from candidate Clark Kelly and Ms. Lauren Sloan of Parker Prince Levano, Mr. Kelly's auditor. Mr. Kelly's evidence was that Ms. Foley, in fact, only contributed the allowable $1,200 on September 6, 2022. Mr. Kelly then explained that earlier, on August 19, 2022, he attended the Foley residence. At that time, 2 contributions in the amount of $1,200 each were provided, one by Ms. Foley and her husband, and one by Sean Foley. Those checks were from business accounts, and Mr. Kelly explained that these contributions were not accepted. He advised that he ripped up the checks received on August 19, 2022. He then marked on the related receipts that these contributions were not accepted. Mr. Kelly also took the committee through his bank statements showing that only Ms. Foley's September 6, 2022 contribution was accepted and retained. Ms. Sloan appeared in her capacity as Mr. Kelly's campaign finance auditor, and she advised that she performed a 100% testing on Mr. Kelly's contribution records. She likewise confirmed that the checks issued on August 19, 2022 were not deposited. Ms. Sloan advised that the auditor made a clerical error in not recording the fact that those contributions were not deposited. This committee accepts Mr. Kelly's and Ms. Sloan's evidence. The committee is satisfied that the apparent overcontribution was indeed a clerical error. In light of the foregoing, the committee will not commence legal proceedings against Ms. Foley. Mr. Chair, I believe you're on mute.
I think we'd all be better at that by now. Thank you, Member McGoldrick. Members of the committee, is the motion carried? And are there any dissents? Seeing none, the motion is carried, and we will move to item 4.2 on the agenda, which is the City Clerk's report with respect to an apparent contravention of contribution limits under the Municipal Elections Act 1996 for the 2022 municipal elections. Jennifer Kwong. Members have received a written submission from Harry Mortimer of Mortimer, Kostashenko Patel, Chartered Professional Accountants. And I understand that the following designated person is here on behalf of the contributor, Jennifer Kwong, for whom we also have a written submission on file. I see Ms. Kwong is being promoted to panelist to be able to speak. Ms. Kwong, is it just yourself today, or do you have anyone also appearing with you you're sharing your time with?
It's just me today.
Okay. Well then, with that, you have 10 minutes to make your submissions.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the Election Compliance Audit Committee. My name is Jennifer Kwong, and I'm here today to outline the sequence of events that led to an alleged contravention of contribution limits under the Municipal Elections Act 1996 in the 2022 municipal elections. I hope that this plain language overview, along with the document provided by the auditor, Mr. Harry Mortimer, CPA, will clarify the fact that there has not been an overcontribution. To quote the summary of Mr. Mortimer's written submission, quote, "In fact, there was not a contravention of the contribution limits under the Municipal Elections Act. The total contribution amount made by Jennifer Kwong should be recognized as $1,200. This matter relates simply to a reporting anomaly where the available schedules in Form 4 do not allow for the detailed disclosure of a returned contribution after the January 3rd, 2023 period end," end quote. I'll now review the timeline, which was submitted to the committee on December 7th, if you would like to follow along. So, timeline of events. July 11th, 2022, I purchased vanilla from Bina Shaw's campaign fundraiser for $28. No receipt was issued or received at that time. At the time of purchase, the candidate and contributor were not aware that the purchase would be considered a contribution. May 24th, 2022 to October 15th, 2023, I worked on the Bina Shaw campaign design materials. October 28th, I sent an invoice to the Bina Shaw campaign. The total cost of services before taxes was $1,730, of which $1,200 is identified as a campaign contribution. I just wanted to note that I didn't recognize the $28 vanilla purchase as a contribution. And then March 31st, 2023, the auditor's report prepared by Mr. Harry Mortimer, CPA, is filed with the City of Ottawa. The report covers the period from May 9th, 2022 to January 3rd, 2023. On page 4, Mr. Mortimer identifies the $28 in question as ineligible. So he was able to catch that had gone unnoticed by me and the candidate. It is deducted from the candidate's total contributions received. So in other words, the $28 was not included in the contributions received. And at the time of filing, the $28 was not yet returned to me. In July 2023, I received the $28 refund from Bina Shaw in the form of cash. Now, there's no written record as there's no requirement from the city to report this activity. So this takes us to November 28th, 2023. The Election Compliance Committee delivered a package to me identifying a, quote, apparent contravention of contribution limits. So once we spoke to Mr. Mortimer and Bina Shaw and realized why this was, Bina Shaw purchased a money order made out to Jennifer Kwong. This serves as a written record of the money that was returned to me. December 1st, 2023, Mr. Mortimer submits the document to the committee. Mr. Mortimer submits a document to the committee that shows that there was no overcontribution. In the document, he explains that there is no mechanism to report contributors' overcontribution refunds outside of the reporting period. I hope that the information provided by Mr. Mortimer, along with the timeline presented today, will clarify the matter. So to summarize, first, there has not been a contravention of contribution limits. And second, through the reporting process, there is no mechanism to report refunds issued to overcontributors after the audit's reporting period. I welcome any questions if you require further clarification. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Kwong. Just to confirm, we have no other speakers on this matter on the agenda before we move to questions?
You're correct.
Thank you. Committee members, do we have any questions for Ms. Kwong? No, just one from me, Ms. Kwong. Just so I'm clear, have you received both a money order and then a cash refund from July? So
I have not physically received the money order. Bina has been out of town for personal matters, so I've received the cash. That's not the reason she made the money order was so that you can have a proof of the money transfer that has already happened. So no, I have not received that money order, but I did receive the refund in cash.
okay. Seeing no other questions from the committee members, the submissions from designated persons have now closed. Do the members have any questions for city staff, Raymond, Shabbat, Grant Thornton, or committee counsel? Seeing none, do any members wish to make any comments on this matter in open meeting? And seeing that there is no wish to do so, the committee will recess its open meeting and deliberate in private on this matter pursuant to subsection 88.33, sub 5.1 of the Municipal Elections Act and return with its decision.
For members of the public watching the meeting through YouTube, there might be a brief interruption in the stream, but you may revisit the Ottawa City Council YouTube page to resume viewing the stream. Pour les membres du public qui observent la réunion sur YouTube, il se peut avoir une brève interruption du flux, mais vous pouvez renaviguer à la page du canal Conseil municipal d'Ottawa sur YouTube pour reprendre le flux. Merci beaucoup. Hey, they're deliberating on item 2.
Made the other stream private yet?
Yeah, I'm just, do you know off the top of your head? I was just poking around for it.
Yeah, I think you have to go
here, got it.
Yeah, but have you made an announcement?
Yeah,
okay.
French, English.
Perfect.
All right, done.
Okay, do we have everyone back? Looks like we do. Seeing all of my committee members. Okay. The committee will now reconvene. Member Eldar could please move the decision motion.
Sounds good. Mic check. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good day, everyone. Be it resolved that the committee issues the following decision and reasons. Upon receiving the report titled The City Clerk's Report with respect to an apparent contravention of the contribution limit under the Municipal Election Act 1996 for the 2020 new municipal election, Jennifer Kwong, and upon hearing the representation and written submission and documents submitted by the contributor, this committee hereby decides not to commence legal proceeding against contributor Jennifer Kwong for an apparent contravention of the contribution limit under the Municipal Election Act 1996. The committee has considered the evidence tendered by Ms. Kwong and Mr. Harry Mortimer, CPA, the candidate's campaign auditor. Given the small amount of the apparent contravention and the likely legal and administrative cost of commencing legal proceeding, the committee exercises its discretion not to commence legal proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Eldar. Is the motion carried? And are there any dissents? Seeing none, the motion is carried. We now move to item 4.3, appointment of external licensed auditor to conduct an election compliance audit of candidate Doug Thompson of Ward 20 Osgood from the 2022 municipal election. I understand that the following designated persons are in attendance. Mr. Phillips, the applicant, on his own behalf. I understand that the applicant is viewing the meeting and has not requested to speak. Do the members have any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, then my understanding is that the following designated person is here on behalf of the respondent, candidate Doug Thompson, Stéphane Emar-Chabot from Sico Guibault. Mr. Emar-Chabot, I believe you are now present. Thank you. You have 10 minutes to make your submission, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, committee members. So my name is Stéphane Emar-Chabot. I act on behalf of Doug Thompson on this file. The purpose of my appearance today is simply to ask the committee for a deferral of this matter. The committee undoubtedly knows that the matter has been appealed. The counsel for the committee and myself have been working diligently to expedite that appeal as quickly as possible under the parameters that are allowed within the judicial system at the moment. We have a hearing date on the substance of the appeal set for March, and it simply strikes us as a bit premature to engage in the audit review process of the expenses, which will mean further expenditures and time for Mr. Thompson while this appeal is ongoing. In order to minimize legal proceedings and get to the nub of the issue as quickly as possible, which is the interpretation of the powers of this committee and how they should be exercised after the latest round of revisions of the statute, which took away from council and placed into an independent committee the powers that you have. There are divergent views on how those powers are to be exercised. Different municipalities are not doing it all the same way, and there is conflicting case law on the interpretation of those provisions. So pending the outcome, which will be of benefit not just for Mr. Thompson, but for the work of this committee generally, we would ask that the appointment of an auditor be deferred until we have a decision on the legality of the initial decision to undertake the audit that was taken last summer. Obviously, we don't want to stall matters indefinitely, but it would make sense. And as I said, to minimize the need for legal costs and proceedings, Mr. Thompson did not seek and does not intend to seek, I certainly have no instructions on that point, a suspension or some kind of motion to put all this in abeyance through judicial proceedings until the appeal is resolved. But in simply a show of, I would say, respect for the appeal, respect for the amount of money that will have to be incurred for the audit on both sides, both taxpayers and Mr. Thompson, and to make sure that those resources and that energy is not wasted, we would ask that the appointment of the auditor be deferred. If there are administrative reasons for which an auditor has to be chosen at this point, contractual or otherwise, then we would ask that the auditor be directed not to commence the actual audit work until the appeal has been resolved. So those are simply, that is the only purpose of my presence this morning, and those are my submissions on this point.
Thank you, Monsieur Amar Chabot. Do members have any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, submissions from designated persons have now closed. Do members have any questions for city staff or committee counsel? Do any members wish to make any comments on this matter in open meeting? And as no one has any comments to make in open meeting, the committee will recess its open meeting and deliberate in private on this matter pursuant to subsection 88.33 sub 5.1 of the Municipal Elections Act, and we'll return with our decision. Thank you.
Chair, if the meeting could stand at ease momentarily, please. Just assisting a member.
Sure.
All members have now joined Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Pello, maybe it's just on my Zoom, but it appears that we're still showing there we go. Thank you. The committee will now reconvene. If Member McGoldrick could please move the decision motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the matter of the applicant Ted Phillips and the candidate Doug Thompson, be it resolved that the committee has reached the following decision, that the report recommendations be amended as follows, that the Election Compliance Audit Committee 1 approve the appointment of Raymond Shabbat Grant Thornton, an external licensed auditor, to conduct an election compliance audit of the campaign finances of candidate Doug Thompson of Ward 20 Osgood from the 2022 municipal elections, as outlined in this report. Item 2, delegate the authority to finalize the contract and audit plan to the city clerk or his designate in consultation with the committee's legal counsel, as outlined in this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Member McGoldrick. Is the motion carried? Are there any dissents? I am seeing and hearing none. The motion is carried. We'll move now to item 4.4 on the agenda, appointment of external licensed auditor to conduct an election compliance audit of third-party advertiser Horizon Ottawa from the 2022 municipal elections. Before we begin, just as a matter of clarification for the record, as noted in the minutes from our previous meeting, at the time, Member McGoldrick was unable to be present when we voted on the motion. And in accordance with our committee procedures, Member McGoldrick will not be taking any further actions with respect to the committee's decisions in this matter. So when we convene privately to deliberate, Member McGoldrick will not be present, and he will not cast a vote in this matter or any subsequent decisions flowing from it. I understand that, again, Mr. Phillips is present today, but he's not requested to speak. And so do any members of the committee have any questions for the applicant? Seeing and hearing none, I note that there are no designated persons in attendance on behalf of the respondent today, which means that submissions from designated persons have now closed. Do you members have any questions for city staff or committee council? Seeing and hearing none, do any members wish to make any comments on this matter in open meeting? Seeing and hearing none, the committee will recess its open meeting and deliberate in private on this matter pursuant to subsection 88.33 sub 5.1 of the Municipal Elections Act, and we will return with our decision. believe we're all back. Kathy, are you ready?
I'm just trying to open my email on my antiquated computer here.
No problem. We'll give you a moment.
Yeah. Time. So that should be down here. Definitely need to get a new computer. Okay. Okay, so I'm all good now.
Okay, thanks very much. Then the committee will now reconvene, and if the vice chair could please move the decision motion.
Moved by myself that the report recommendations be amended as follows: that the Election Compliance Audit Committee approve the appointment of BDO Canada LLP, an external licensed auditor, to conduct an election compliance audit of the campaign finances of third-party advertiser Horizon Ottawa from the 2022 municipal elections, as outlined in this report, and delegate the authority to finalize the contract and audit plan to the city clerk or his designate in consultation with the committee's legal counsel as outlined in this report.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Is the motion carried?
Carried.
Any dissents? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Which brings us to item 4.5 on the agenda, report from the city clerk with respect to the review of contributions to candidates and registered third-party advertisers' supplementary financial statements filed under the Municipal Elections Act 1996 for the 2022 municipal elections. This last item on the agenda is an information report. And for the committee members, including Mr. McGoldrick, I ask if there are any questions on this report for city staff, for RCGT or committee council.
Nope.
Seeing and hearing none, do any members wish to make any comments? Then the report recommendation that the Election Compliance Audit Committee receive this report for information. Is the report received?
Received.
Thank you all. The next item on the agenda is inquiries. Are there any inquiries? Seeing and hearing none. Item 6, other business. Is there any other business? Seeing and hearing none, we move to adjournment. Item 7, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.